thank you to the Grain Food Foundation for creating such an amazing event for all of us to learn. We're such a small community in the baking community, and so this is such an incredible gathering, and for all of us to learn from each other and share as each one of us take our things back to our organization. So today we're going to talk about what La Farm does, what we do to impact the grain movement on a one grain at a time. You know, in a smaller artisan bakery location, different than some of the larger manufacturers, we take a little bit more of a micro look, and so we're going to talk through some of those things. We're going to talk about how the industry is moving, how the consumer is moving, and hopefully some of the ideas we share with you today will impart some really exciting ways for you to innovatively think when you go back home to your offices, back home into your plants. How is it that you can take just 2-3% of your time, and with that, think about how you can impact the grain movement, how you can impact the lives that those of you that you're feeding through just taking consideration of the grain and the nutrition. You know, it's amazing here in the United States, bakers from around the world love what we have in terms of flour. We, through that, have grown such an incredible microsystem and have been really world leaders when it comes to the bakery world. We've got amazing networks in food growers. We've done incredible work in public policy. We have marketing for generations around our incredible growers in the grain industry. Distributors, we have distributors that have done just incredible work, bringing exciting, innovative products out to us. And then foundations like the one that we're speaking for here today that have just done a great job continuing to educate us and continuing to grow our industry so that we can better impact our communities. For us at La Farm, we have a little bit more of a smaller reach than we do here at this association, or we do for a lot of you that impact more on a national level. For us, we work at grain on more of a micro level, and we're going to spend the time talking about how that is. How is it that we can take such a large category, one of the largest categories we eat as humans, and how is it that we can break it apart just slightly, bring the same innovation that really, as of the 60s, started to feed the world, and bring it in a way that we can tweak it just slightly and add just a touch more nutrition through the excitement of taste. For us at La Farm, we started out really trying to connect the baker with the miller. I think that's what Europe does such an incredible job of, is really connecting, and the miller then connects out throughout the industry. We then said, well, how can we connect the farmer and the scientist? Why did we go down this route? You know, I think it's a piece of us just trying to say, listen, we love what we do, but how can we just take a little bit more? How can we do, instead of just good, how can we do great? And how can we impact the industry doing that? When you take a look at the status of the industry, you say, well, that's great, but why would I go to that extra effort? Well, I think we're starting to see the consumer is driving that. When we started La Farm, what was exciting is we started with what we now call sort of milk bread, the trend that we see that's reaching across the nation. And a lot of us, especially those of us here in the southeast of the U.S., grew up with this delicious white bread that our grandmothers made. It was something that really sense of essence in that smell when you came in. And throughout the years, it's been exciting to see that our community continues to understand the nutrition. How critical is it? It's pretty critical, at the BBC stating more than 90% of us are under fibered. So how is it that by just tweaking a touch can we add a little bit more fiber into what we do? For myself, I come more from a background in the restaurant or in the supermarket industry, and I think what's exciting is to see food service and manufacturing and how over 50% of our food is eaten outside of a home. And with that, we now become an extension of the way that individuals can eat. We now are a part of their home and what we do. Over half of the dinner meals that restaurants serve today, can you believe over half of them are to-go meals? So all of a sudden, the food service and the manufacturing sector has really become a part of our everyday meal that we have. You'll see exciting things things that are going in different sectors of the big, broader range of food service. You see Boar's Head that's bringing in nitrate and hormone-free meats, which is exciting. You see McDonald's tweaking its Happy Meal and how is it impacting the nutrition of our children. You see Tyson's with just this year, the acquisitions of an incredible brand of natural chicken. And then we see Subway tweaking in its bread category some of its ingredients as it's looking to really adapt and grow and develop for the consumer desires that they have. So what is La Farm doing? I think that's really what we're here to talk a little bit about. What is it that we're doing? And for us, we named La Farm on purpose because we really wanted to pay homage. Without the farm, all of us really don't have the ingredients that we need in order to be able to do the trade that we offer. When we look at sort of what the mission or the essence of what we're looking for us it's to honor the ingredients, it's to honor the farmer, and to passionately share that through bread. We do that in our location through using old world techniques that are passed down from the guilds. How are we respecting fermentation? But from a business perspective, because isn't it wonderful to have these lofty goals and how can we impact the grain movement, all of us, right? But at the end of the day, if it doesn't make economic sense, then there's not a way for us really to be able to continue to do that day in and day out. So for us, we really bring it in through the values of our organization and into the essence and fiber of what our team does. There's over 150 of us at La Farm. And so on a weekly basis and on a monthly basis and on a quarterly basis, we're all as a group coming together to understand how it is that we can impact that. So we have a saying that we do well so that we can do good, meaning we have to do these basic functions of running a business like all of us do so that we can come back tomorrow and get to play the game of bakery. But in doing so, how is it that we put 2, 3, 4% of our time sort of guide and channel our bakers and our team so that we can impact more grain and nutrition coming into our products through the playfulness of our bakers' hands. So with that, over the years, we're 20 years old, we got to be able to discover some amazing grains. With that, here in the Southeast, we have what's called an heirloom Renzabruzzi rye. It's a beautiful, dark, rich caramel rye. And most of you know low glycemic, so that's a really wonderful, now a sexy term. But how is it that we start to educate our consumer that they're no longer thinking of grain as just this large category, but how do we start to break up their perception, understanding in grains? And so we market to that. With that, we worked with Carter Farms, which is about an hour and a half from us, who was growing that organically. We then worked with Carolina Ground, which was up in the mountainous areas, cold stone grinding that grain. And what's exciting for us, we're in tobacco country, and so wheat is a wonderful bumper crop. So not only from that perspective of being able to bring that out to the community, but how can we also teach our community about the impact that we're making in our agriculture community? From there, we took this heirloom Renzabruzzi rye, and for those that you have, please help yourself to a sample. You'll see this one here, which is a Scandinavian rye. This is a wonderful dark rye. You can smell that beautiful caramel flavor and the seeds inside. And Lionel developed a Scandinavian rye with germinated grains. So then we said, well, how can we take that same educational piece for people maybe more like myself that aren't just driven to eat a dark, hearty bread? I might not have grown up with that. And how can we playfully introduce heirloom Renzabruzzi rye so that people can start to become addicted and start to see what an amazing grain this is, and ideally continue to develop their palate into a heartier, more fiber-rich bread. So for us, we did a s'more here, which is really fun, and this is made with an heirloom Renzabruzzi rye crust. We also did a hand pie. Isn't that amazing? With hazelnut spread and drizzled with dark chocolate on top. And so what was really fun is our consumers were like, wow, this chocolate hand pie is delicious. but the chocolate was not in the crust at all. Actually, it was an heirloom Renzabruzzi rye. So it gave us yet one more opportunity to educate and share. And then we developed this, really, everyone has to have this for their children in their lunchbox. This one is a dark heirloom Renzabruzzi rye made with European dark chocolate cookie, and it's got a little bit of a vanilla bean infused salt on top. Absolutely delicious. So then we said, how is it that we can start to really involve and embrace our community and those that we get to serve? How can they participate in the grain movement? It's really great we get to do that as bakers, but how is it that we can make and sort of throw that net a little bit farther? So we continued to search, and we started to connect then. We had the baker, we had the miller, we had the farmer, and then we had the amazing opportunity to have Dr. Marshall, one of our leading wheat breeders right here in NC State, has his fields all around the country. He created the TAM 303 when he was at Texas A&M, not one of my finer moments when we were meeting with he and his team, and I asked him who developed this name. It wasn't really great for retail. Then I understood it was the signature of the scientist, but he's a great sport about it. And so with that, we had the opportunity through the tobacco foundations who helped funded these bumper crops. He developed this wheat, and he would spend 6 to 8 years bringing out thousands of different seeds, and then allowed, and it was such an honor for us to be able to take the last 8 to 10 seeds as he was going through the final 2 years of his research, so that he was starting to get the information for the first time from the baker on how the waft of the bread, how the moisture, how the taste profile of his seeds, from the miller, what were things about the seed that were beneficial to them, what were they looking for, and within 2 years then released out into the agriculture community, the seed. We have now 100% of our whole wheat is grown in North Carolina and milled in North Carolina. This is our La Farm bread. We then created a bread that sort of paid homage in the center of North Carolina. We have the Piedmont region, and that's where it's grown. And so we have a Piedmont sourdough that we created with that. And then you guys will have a really fun s'more that you have on your plate. And so this was a really fun way for us to be able to talk about the cracked wheat. So we did this for the state fair, which was really fun. And how could we celebrate what was happening agriculturally at the state fair? And they put an artisan marshmallow with it. In this case, they dunked it in dark chocolate, and we put a caramelized apple smoked bacon. Pork is huge in North Carolina. The one you have, though, has just a touch of pecan. Those are grown in North Carolina, but sort of in a brittle.
There's no pig product.
Yeah, you don't have any pork in what you're eating. So then we went a little bit farther and said, how is it we can start to every quarter challenge our organization to create something that can pay homage to the incredible work that's happening inside of our grain community. So with that, we were honored to find out about the Carolina Gold rice. And what's so interesting about the Carolina Gold rice, so most of us, like myself, grew up on Uncle Ben's. So Anson Mills and Glenn Roberts are unbelievable, a wonderful mill we have in South Carolina. He works with David Shields, one of our most renowned national food historians, who understands for history where our seeds are and how is it that we're working with our growers and our scientists to start to bring those back and revitalize that. Specifically, this rice grows incredibly well for us here in the southeastern region of the U.S., and it actually was the preferred grain. It was the highest economic contribution in the colonial days. And today, we don't know about it. We know about Uncle Ben's. How many in the crowd know about Carolina Gold? Correct. We didn't either. So today, if you go throughout Asia and you ask for the preferred rice, it's called Carolina. So back in the colonial days, it was owned by the Loy family in England. And so the seed left us here in the United States and has continued to be grown in Asia. And it's exciting as we bring it back how it's revitalizing some of our poorest economic areas all throughout the Southeast. And any of you that travel in that area will see the revitalization of the rice fields that are happening all throughout that area. So it's incredibly exciting. So now we've connected the baker, the miller, the farmer, the scientist, and the food historian. And the bakers created this beautiful porridge, traditional to a Japanese style of bread baking with the Carolina Gold Midlands. And they put it into this beautiful rice bread that was, again, something that for us in the colonial days, we couldn't afford wheat. And so this was what we would have on our table, and to pay homage to what we had all throughout the Southeast during the colonial days. And you'll see that one. They put a touch of the cracked wheat in there so the rice middlings would pop out for you. Again, a beautiful, you can smell the sweetness and just a touch of that sour. Beautiful moisture content in that bread. So here's a wheat that I get super excited about, ancient einkorn. So as we continue to explore and understand and continue to fall in love with grain and be able to communicate out to our community that we have the honor of serving, we started to understand a little bit more about ancient einkorn and nature's first and oldest wheat. So we reached out to one of the leading wheat scientists in Norway and started to talk to him about where it was and where he felt that the wheat was going in the world. We have some great work being done in Italy, actually, where most of his research plots are by two scientists, with Italy doing really the most exciting work around einkorn, bringing it out into the pasta community, bringing it out into the bread community. And what's great about einkorn is it has such a higher nutrient in terms of minerals and beta carotene, things that are important for human consumption when it comes to wheat. So there we created, again, our bakers took this grain to pay homage to it and brought it out to our community with an einkorn bread. What's exciting about this, I mean, that's a pretty sophisticated grain. Within the first day of serving in all of our locations by 10 o'clock, it was sold out. So it was so exciting to see. And I can't say that Raleigh-Durham is the mecca of food in the world, although we did just have the first James beer for the nation. Go Raleigh. So we're super excited for Ashley Christensen. But with that, the sophistication and knowledge that's happening with the consumer, I think that's really where we have the opportunity, is to understand how sophisticated they are. So now we have the food historian. We now have an international scientist, the farmer, the miller, the baker. But then from a manufacturing perspective, we start to see internationally, how is it impacting retail products? Here you'll see each of you have this really delicious buttery ciboli, and that's made with einkorn. So what is La Farm focusing on the future? What are some of the things that go through our mind? What are some of the things that our bakers are working on? Well, first piece of that is around partnerships. We're going to play a video on a really exciting partnership that we have with Whole Foods and the support that we have as we sell in their area stores. We have a bakery inside of one of their stores where actually they're functioning bakers, and we bring that theater. For us, it's an opportunity to partner with a group that allows us to continue to educate around the grain movement. Other things that we do, we have wonderful community farms. I encourage each of you to think in your specific areas where you're finding these things. We'll look at Appalachian white wheat, which is exciting. That's a wheat that grows well for us regionally. You may have one that grows better for you regionally. And then polycropping, and how is it that through these lines of different plants that are supporting each other, and the nutrition that's happening through that growth process that's going back into the soil. So those are things that we're sort of thought thinking, and where is it that we can participate and better understand. I think our last piece that we really want to continue to understand is this medical profession. How is it that we take the amazing aspect, and I think sometimes when we talk about the grain category, it's somewhat polarizing in that we have each one of these sections working independently. And how is it that we all come together and take the knowledge coming from each one of our sectors to create, at the end of the day, better nutrition? So this is a really fun partnership that we have. We're going to show you a video.
learning. Being constantly with them to understand when did happen 6 months ago. What do happen now when you are not using the fresh crop?
The highest nutrition is generally in crops and fresh up, freshly processed and baked. So fresh baked, something everybody knows is a buzz term, becomes fresh well-being.
What's important to us is that craft, that artisanship. You know that that bread was baked that day, and you can take it home, and yeah, it only lasts 2-3 days, but it's the best bread that you can possibly have.
Neighborhood bakery, you bring people together by bringing your community all together around a table, into a piece of bread. That's it. People are set for life.
So that's a beautiful farm where I'm in South Carolina going through the fields. So in conclusion, I think what's really exciting and what we're hoping that the time that you all have invested, thank you for participating. Thank you for participating in the talks, learning and growing. I think the hopes that we're getting from this is that you can take that back with you, take that 2 or 3% of your week or month or year, and how is it that you can bring a way of impacting your local community, starting to think about how it is that you can connect that chain of the baker, the miller, the farmer, the scientist, the food historian, the manufacturer, the nutritionist. And as we all sort of continue to understand and grow, you know, we have a saying, we have 1 in 5 children in our country are hungry, but 5 in 5 eat grain. And so the work that each one of us do in the small community that we have actually impacts so much in terms of what you do. For us, we know that a baker can drop a silo through the hands of 2 single pair of hands. So it's an unbelievable gift that each of you have in what you do working in the industry. Thanks. So we're going to open with some Q&A if anybody has some questions, and then Lionel's here if you have more baking technical questions. That'll be outside of my skill set.